Hi, I'm Steve Plaich, and welcome to this edition of Nonprofit Spotlight. As you know, Nonprofit Spotlight is a production of the Volunteer Advisory Committee here at Community Television. And every episode, we highlight one of the nonprofits in Santa Cruz County doing wonderful, wonderful work. And this episode, we're very fortunate to have LaVerne Colman, who is the Director of Client and Volunteer Services for WomenCARE. So welcome, LaVerne.
Thank you, Steve. It's a pleasure to be here. I appreciate it.
Well, we're really happy to have you. For people who don't know really much about you, give us, before we start talking about WomenCARE itself, give people a little idea of how you came to this work and how you came to WomenCARE in particular.
Let me just say I came to Santa Cruz. I had an opportunity to come in the winter of '90 to sublet a cottage on the beach for 6 months. I was escaping the snow in Colorado, and I am still here. And part of that was because of the involvement of my work with nonprofits. I started out at the Santa Cruz AIDS Project, and then many years later, someone who knew me and had heard me talk about the 24/7 care that we could organize at SCAP encouraged me to apply for a job at WomenCARE. And I was excited to do that because I have known too many people in my life who've had a cancer diagnosis. Mm-hmm. My mother, who was a survivor, but I lost my best friend 27 years ago. And so in this work here, I always say that I meet the very best of Santa Cruz, whether it's clients, the incredible volunteers who make everything that we do possible, or my coworkers. There's an exchange that happens here, and it feeds my heart and soul. So I'm grateful.
Yeah, that is a wonderful facet of Santa Cruz. I couldn't agree more. Interestingly, we have history in so many different ways. I was a volunteer. My first volunteer opportunity was with the Santa Cruz AIDS Project, and I wrote grants for them over there for their harm reduction program. So I love the work that they do. And then I really wish, talking to you, and I'm anxious to hear about the WomenCARE program because my mother passed from cancer a few years back. And I'm wishing that we home hospice, and I'm wishing that we had the kind of support that WomenCARE gives at that point. And I'm just delighted that you offer that today. One of the things we've been examining kind of with these shows is the challenges in this COVID-19 era of furthering the mission of WomenCARE. Many of the nonprofits, we talked about this a few minutes back, a lot of it is interpersonal related. You know, you're giving support to people, you're in the same room, you're really almost very much hands-on, very tactile kind of experience. What has been your experience with the COVID-19, and how is WomenCARE responding to kind of still providing the support and services in an age where everything seems to be almost entirely virtual?
It has become a virtual world. Most of our groups were able to transition fairly smoothly to a Zoom, life on Zoom. Mm-hmm. We have emotional support groups, and then what we call our healing circles, which are more hands-on experiential kinds of things. The emotional support groups, even though the women really, like you said, they find a lot of value in meeting face-to-face.
Right.
Every Monday we have a group for women who have an advanced, recurrent, or metastatic diagnosis, and that is a core group of about 10 to 12 women, and they all pretty consistently show up. I mean, it's a really powerful group. Every Tuesday we have a group for newly diagnosed women, and that's a little more disparate, I guess, because they're not this core group that's been together for a really long time, and they're coming in with different diagnoses. But nevertheless, it's a really good group that happens every Tuesday, and we encourage women to get in touch with us. Anyway, we do a lot of collaboration with the community, with both medical groups, Dignity and Palo Alto Medical Foundation, as well as Kaiser. We actually get referrals from Stanford sometimes because we've worked over the years to really connect with our community, to get our brochures out there, to get our information out there. So, so we have those two groups. We also have a group for post-treatment women, which is very actively attended at this point, because even though a woman has finished her treatment, her life is not the same. You know, once you have cancer, it's something that stays with you. You're under the microscope and testing and retesting. And so there are many issues that are unique to this group of women as well. And then we have what I said were the healing circle groups. We have a writing group that meets once a month. We have a meditation group that meets twice a month. We have laughter yoga, which meets weekly. We have a group for people if they want to talk about anything related to living with or unto death and dying. Mm-hmm. I'm forgetting something. Oh, we have a monthly group called the Complementary Treatment Forum. And for the last we used to do it once a month, but now we're doing it more often because we can. There's more space.
Right.
And so this Saturday, we'll be offering the fourth class of a four-part series on nutrition. It was offered by a wonderful group of women who themselves are professional nutritionists and dietitians, and it's called They're Nourishing Generations. So anyway, we keep doing things like that with complementary treatment. I might have an acupuncturist. I might have a naturopath. We just invite different facilitators in on a different educational or sort of hands-on level for our clients to take advantage of. And I like to say that everything WomenCARE does is free, and that's thank you to the incredible volunteers and the support that we have. Also to continue to answer your question. I even though I am in the office this morning, and I come in a few times a week. If for nothing else, I have to water my plants. So they're still here. Yeah. But also to retrieve things, file things, and I answer the phone. I check messages throughout the day and respond, whether it's a client, a community member, a medical staff person, or whatever it is. I do conversations with newly diagnosed women. We have incredible volunteers who offer practical support. From the beginning, practicing total safety protocols of mask wearing and wiping surfaces down, I have volunteers who continue to get women to and from medical appointments, both locally in Stanford South Bay, Stanford Palo Alto, and occasionally to UCSF. We don't do much in-home. We were doing light house cleaning and things like that. We run errands, but at this point, we don't really go into women's homes. But just incredible volunteers. We have peer support volunteers who also, you can have a one-on-one connection with a woman who might have a similar diagnosis, or maybe you both had young children when you were diagnosed, or maybe you're just both young women, and it's impacted your life in a way that most of your friends cannot understand. So, and we do check-ins with all newly diagnosed women. We do follow-up calls, and some clients we know want to have more of a connection, more of an ongoing conversation, or just check in more often to say, how are you doing? Because they can't walk through the door anymore. And that is, we all miss that. So we try the best we can over the phone with Zoom to stay connected.
Yes, we've found doing these programs, LaVerne, that one of the signature features of nonprofits here in Santa Cruz County is volunteer participation. There's so much volunteer driven. Have you been able to kind of keep your volunteers involved during a time when we seem to be kind of separated virtually by circumstance?
It's true. Yes. Well, I've probably gone from 25 drivers to 10. In a core group of 5 or 6 who are really available. And like I said, they wear masks, they wipe down their cars before and after. And those who have had to step away, they might be older, they might have a partner who's compromised, or they themselves might have some additional health issue. Nobody's, we all have to take care of ourselves. And we're very proud of the fact here that we keep volunteers for years. And it's because we work with real life. Mm-hmm. We know that you have obligations. We just ask that when you make a commitment, you keep your word, or if you need to change it, you let us know as soon as you can. But yes, we have kept volunteers. I have several volunteers. Every day we were open, which is 4 days a week, I had a different volunteer who staffed the front desk. And each of those at some point during these last 6 months has come in with me at more than once, a couple of them, and just to catch up on what were their tasks or to help me do anything I want to do. And they're trying to encourage me to let them do more so that I can take a vacation, because we all need a break. So incredible volunteers, and we really are part of a large family, and the support is there.
What kind of challenges have your participants faced in this age of kind of virtual connection? Do you still have the same volume of folks whose lives are being dramatically changed by a cancer diagnosis, and are they able to kind of still access your services, or are they learning to do that more as we go along?
I think both those things are true. We didn't lose any clients. I mean, the request for practical support did slow down initially. And I think part of that, they actually told me this, that friends and family were not working. And so they were able to give them rides to medical appointments. And then I started getting calls and my partner's going back to work. My family's going back to work. So people are plugging back in. We also had fewer referrals from the medical community. I think in general, things slow down everywhere, but all that is picking up. Where I've had conversations with at least 3 new clients in the past 10 days. More and more requests for transportation to medical appointments because COVID has not stopped cancer. You know, people are still going to surgeries. They're still having radiation 5 days a week for 6 or 7 weeks. They're still having chemotherapy and tests and tests and tests and all those things. So I think after the initial slowdown, people are again, and people were really more protective because a woman going through cancer treatment, her immune system, the whole idea is to compromise her immune system. So,
of course, yeah.
So they're more vulnerable. But like I said, we're taking lots of precautions as were they. One woman once said to me, she goes, "Well, can I sit in the back seat?" And I said, "Of course you can. You know, whatever makes." So.
So that's really wonderful to hear. And before we get too much farther, I want to make sure we talk about the Strike Out for Cancer, your signature, iconic event in Santa Cruz that raises so much money, and it's so wonderful to support the work you do. So tell us all we need to know about that.
Okay, I appreciate that, and I'm definitely going to do it. But one thing I want to mention that I haven't said yet is that WomenCARE actually has a program in Watsonville called Entre Nosotros.
Oh, good.
Speaking women, and that program has been going on almost as long as WomenCARE has, which is 1992 for WomenCARE. Again, they no longer can meet in person, but the wonderful director of that program, who has been there, I think she's been here longer than I have, so she's at least 20 years. She calls her women, and she has over the years, created an incredible network of outreach and services for women in the Watsonville community, Spanish-speaking women. And so, we can offer peer support there. We can offer transportation. All the things that we do here, we offer there. And some of these nutrition classes were in Spanish last year. So we try to incorporate it as best we can while recognizing that it's a different cultural and language, things that we have to work with there.
I'm glad you mentioned that because too often we think about Santa Cruz as North County, Santa Cruz, city of Santa Cruz, or Live Oak, and we don't really realize that there are, many, many thousands, tens of thousands of people. Watsonville's population is 50,000, 55,000. There are people down there who have just as many needs for support as we do up here. So thank you for mentioning that and making sure that people in South County, when they see this program, understand that there are services down there for them. So tell us about Strike Out for Cancer. This is exciting. Every year this happens.
Thank you. This is WomenCARE's 24th annual in-house fundraiser, and in the best of times, we count on it for about a third of our budget. Unfortunately, this year we're needing it to be even bigger than that because many of our large funders have had to say no, not this year. We're hoping that in the next fiscal year, which is we've begun, that will shift for them as well. But anyway, Strike Out is an incredible event where for 24 years we've been going. With 1 year we went to Watsonville. Every other year it's been at Boardwalk Bowl here in Santa Cruz. We'll be virtual this year, as we've acknowledged most of life is. We have a dedicated website, which is called one big word, strikeoutagainstcancer.org. Again, one word, strikeoutagainstcancer.org. So the virtual part of it this year is that we ask people to form teams. You can have up to 5 people on your team. You can register as an individual. We hope that you would register to participate in our virtual Zoom sessions. And at that time, because we can't actually bowl, we're going to have a couple of clients talk about why WomenCARE has been important to them. We're going to invite groups, team leaders, anyone who wants to participate and say why they continue to support WomenCARE, why they're bowling again, why they're bowling for the first time. And we have incredible raffle prizes that forever community organizations and individuals have donated, whether it's a massage or wine or a restaurant gift certificate or many different things. And we will be drawing raffle prizes for everyone who signed up to bowl in this event. We'll put their name on a ticket and a bowl, and we'll be drawing just like we do in person at the bowling alley. And so people will still have the opportunity to win prizes, and then we'll figure out a way to get them to them eventually. What else can I say? It's a fun event. It's virtual this year. We're a little bit nervous. We're working really hard to make it fun and interesting, and hoping that more people will sign up. Or even if you don't want to participate virtually, you can sign up and just be a bowler, and people can dedicate to you on the website, or you can have people give you checks that you bring to us then or send to us. there's lots of ways to do it, and the website itself tells you what all those opportunities are, whether you just want to be a donor, an individual, or part of someone's team.
Well, it's always seemed like such a wonderful event. My time around Family Services Agency, looking at the posters and the outreach that you all did for that is just so wonderful and exciting. And people, even though we can't physically throw the ball down the lane this year, they can still come onto the website. They can sign up to be a team member, and they can just make a donation if they like. One thing that we sometimes forget is that this great work can't be done in a financial vacuum, and particularly in these times when there's so many calls on our charitable dollar, it's well to think about the people who are really doing terrific foundational work. I think WomenCARE certainly falls into that category.
Thank you. You know, like I said earlier, we're dependent on this more than ever this year, and you can make a donation. I don't care if it's $5 or $500 or $5,000. It matters. You know, I want to acknowledge too that we have a couple of clients who I know they don't have a lot of money, but they have it set up. They have a monthly deduction. One of them is for $5.60 every month. One of them is for $25. You know, and just anywhere in between or beyond that. I mean, you know, you don't have to be a client. You know, we would count on the community. But I just want to say, I mean, when I open the mail, I think the most heartwarming things to me in the past have been, I open something that's got a kind of a shaky looking handwriting on it, and it's someone in Massachusetts who donated $10 because he knew somebody who was connected with WomenCARE.
My goodness.
And fortunately we get larger donations in addition to those things. So we count on our community. We're here because of the incredible support that the community has given this group since its inception in 1992. Yeah. It was. Go ahead.
Oh, good. Certainly a dollar well invested. I did look at your website, as I've done often, really, to see kind of catch up on what WomenCARE is doing. And I noticed that your list of supporters is very long. And one of them at the top, of course, Palo Alto Medical Center, of whom I know something, and they certainly do great work. But you have so many very important groups in Santa Cruz directly supporting, you know, your work at WomenCARE.
Yeah. Well, like we were saying before, like in introducing myself, I hardly know anyone who hasn't been touched by cancer. What, you know, not that you had to have the diagnosis, but that you were part of that care team.
Right.
You know, another annual event that a wonderful group of women they bring the Luna Fest Film Festival in Santa Cruz, and they have been supporting WomenCARE for many, many years. And they are the one big funder that did not have to say no to us this year. But anyway, my point is that in the audience at the Rio Theater, I used to ask anyone who's ever heard the words, "You have cancer," to please stand up. And that was usually at least a third of the audience. And then I all those who've ever supported a person with cancer to join them. And I swear to you, there was hardly an empty seat in the house. You know, I mean, it's just, we've all been touched.
Yeah. And I'm thinking that there is really very few more profound statements that you can hear in life than "you have cancer." You know, it is really life-changing, and you know, we're fortunate here, of course, in Santa Cruz at WomenCARE that's doing this great work. As we move through this COVID-19, and hopefully we will be observing the protocols and doing the social distancing and sheltering in place when that's appropriate. And we'll all get through this together. What is the future looking like for WomenCARE? Of course, you there with the client and volunteer services.
We're carrying on. I mean, I can't say when we might be able to all meet in person again, and that makes me sad because we all do give energy to one another. I think, you know, we feed off that, but we are. Like I said, I check the messages throughout the day. I respond. We're finding services. We're getting women to their medical appointments. We're trying to offer that emotional support that is so essential. I think even more so, COVID-19, that the uncertainty and the isolation has, you know, it just deepened that need for personal support. And just got to be there, whether it's a check-in call and how you doing. I called a client recently, just like a week or so after our initial conversation, just to check up on her. And it just warmed my heart that when I said who I was, there was a lift of, sort of like, I don't know if joy's an exaggeration, but, you know, she clearly was glad to hear from me. It's like, well, thank you. You know, because it feeds me. I'm not here because the paycheck's, you know, off the chart. I'm here because it's that connection, that emotional connection. And I think that's why volunteers stay. Because within the office or within, you know, our WomenCARE family, we support one another. We check in with each other. And then we all extend it to our clients. And it's just a network that I can't say enough good things about, it's because of the community we live in, like you said, Steve.
And you mentioned that you were able to keep your volunteers over a long period of time. And I've observed in my time with several nonprofits in town, the very best nonprofits always seem to keep their core of volunteers, people who just want to be involved in the work and really find no reason not to be. So they just continue to be there. I can share a story that when I was a hotline responder for suicide prevention, you take the training and you're required, because of the training, the expense, and the time that they do to train you, to fulfill a year of service. Well, I was there for 8 years just because I wanted to be there. There was no reason for me to move from there. The gift also affects the giver, as you so eloquently mentioned. And that is so important when you're talking about volunteers and people who really care about a particular person or group of people, that we have that in Santa Cruz available. So, all my hats off to the volunteers, people who really care about that and profoundly affected themselves by that every day.
Well, two things. I want to say, you have in your group now one of my volunteers who was with WomenCARE for like 9 years, and I so miss her, and that's Matilda.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
We have other volunteers who've been on the front desk particularly for like 7 years. Matilda was 9 years. We have people there now who've been there 3 or 4 years. And also, I have not yet mentioned that, well, I think we said it, 7 or 8 years ago, WomenCARE went under the umbrella of the Family Service Agency. Mm-hmm. At that time, we gave up our own board of directors, and the Family Service Agency is the board of directors. But some of our board members, and now other people have joined, we have a Friends Committee. And they are a wonderful group of women, always looking for more women who want to participate in that committee. They support us in the bowling event. They do lots of outreach, or making calls, or writing our annual appeal letters, or doing outreach to the community. Mm-hmm. Whatever we can come up with, or they can come up with, but it's just another arm of supporting WomenCARE. It's vital. And normally we meet like once a month. We're meeting a little bit more often as we're gearing up for this bowling event. Right. So, but anyway, we would love to welcome other women, other people onto the Friends Committee.
So even with your great core group of volunteers, people are still have the opportunity to give you a call and see if there's some way they can help out as well?
Yeah, we would love to have more members on the Friends Committee. I would love to have more people who are comfortable to drive to medical appointments at this time, run errands for clients, or drive. Women who themselves are at least a year beyond their own cancer diagnosis and treatment. We have a peer support program, which we had a training for that just at the end of March. And so I probably won't officially do a training at least until sometime next year. Mm-hmm. But there are ways that I've been incorporated peer support volunteers nevertheless. I might have an in-depth interview with them, and we figure out a way to utilize, because we have a wealth of information that no one ever wants. It's an education. Cancer diagnosis is an education that no one ever wants.
Right, of course.
But you are of so much value to another woman who's just diagnosed, or somewhere along that line, and has questions that you perhaps had experience with. So a lot of ways people can still plug in.
And although certainly cancer is always a serious subject, I really appreciate the way that you can inject some joy into the service and the participation and the volunteers, and make it something that people can be joyous about as they look forward to a brighter future, hopefully.
Yeah, I have sort of a black humor, and I have to be careful with it. Uh-huh. Recently, I had a conversation with a woman who she had a cancer that's so rare and so unusual that when she told me it, I thought she said about 4 words, and it turns out it's one long word. Anyway, my black humor started coming out, and she's like, "Oh, thank you. And she just related to it. I mean, so humor is an important part of it. Not every woman would have welcomed that, and I try to be sensitive and figure out when it's okay or not. But sometimes things just slip out of my mouth, but I try to be perfect. But anyway, the corporate room is right across the wall from my office, and I hear as much laughter as I do sadness coming out of that room. It's a safe place. The Zoom groups are safe places where women can talk about anything they want to. There's no judgment, and you're with other women who are going to understand. No matter how strange you think it is, you could pretty well count on that some other person in that group is also experienced that to some degree.
Well, I think it's one of the great testaments to your group is you can create an atmosphere of joy and create an atmosphere of hope and create an atmosphere of support for folks who have heard those words and really have to move on with their lives in any way that they can. We've got a couple of minutes or so left. Anything else you really are burning to tell us about WomenCARE? It's such a wonderful, wonderful group of folks, and the work you do is just, it really is what Santa Cruz is all about.
Ditto. I mean, you just did really well. I mean, I had no intention of working at WomenCARE for 19 years, and I'm still here. But it's because it feeds me. It feeds my heart. It feeds my soul. It challenges me. I feel honored anytime a woman walks through that door or calls us on the telephone. And basically, she's almost always inviting virtual strangers to be a part of her care team. And it's an honor, and I recently a couple of conversations I've had when I get off the phone with a person who's calling for the first time, she said, I feel so much better. And it's not because I did really, I just listened, and I let her know that there are these networks of support that WomenCARE can offer and that she can plug into. And that makes a huge difference to know that you're not going through this strange, new, scary, often, education alone, that there are people who will take your hand and walk through it with you. So.
Well, it's a testament to the organization that even folks who are no longer with you, an alumnus like Matilda Rand, is still very, very supportive. She was the one that suggested that we get you on here to tell your story, to let people know about the wonderful work you do. We've got about a minute, so let's make sure people know how they can get a hold of you, where they can go to make a donation, your website. And one more time about Strike Out for Cancer.
Right. It's one long word, strikeoutagainstcancer.org. It's the website where you can get lots more information, sign up yourself as an individual or team, or you can call us, 457-2273. We'll get back to you. We'll answer any questions. We'll help you sign up if you need to. Call as a client, call as a volunteer, call as a financial supporter, someone with just a question, whatever. We're here, and we couldn't be here without our community. So thank you all. And thank you.
Well, thank you for all of you for being there for people. It's appreciated by the community and certainly noted by us here at Community Television. LaVerne Colman, Director of Client Volunteer Services for WomenCARE, thanks so much for being here with us. And we'll be talking to you again soon. Again, from the bottom of everyone's heart here in Santa Cruz, thank you for the great work.
Thank you for the opportunity. Thank you.
I've been Steve Plaich. Join us again next episode for Nonprofit Spotlight, where we'll be looking at another one of the wonderful nonprofits in Santa Cruz County doing great work like WomenCARE. See you next time.